Assalamu alaikum. So, Alhamdulillah, I got married and I now live in Indonesia. But I did grow up in the West and I visited about 25 countries, Alhamdulillah. So, we're going to be talking about the quality of life in the West versus in Indonesia. So, yeah, inshallah, you're going to get a honest comparison. So, we've got loads of points to discuss, comparing all the different things that I could think of. So, inshallah, it's a benefit to you. So, yeah, in terms of housing, there's a higher minimum standard in the West, 100% there is. There's a lot of very poor housing areas here in Indonesia, and that's what like the majority, or that's what a lot of Indonesians, they live in what us as a Westerner with the Western standards would say is a very low quality. So the average Westerner versus the average Indonesian has a far better quality home on paper. So you will see a lot of poor quality housing as you're driving around, etc. And yeah, the standards of living here are certainly for lots of people, lots of locals, is far lower. But that's what the people that are against leaving the West would leave it at that. But you're not going to be living there. You're not going to be living like the average Indonesian because unfortunately the average Indonesian earns $200 a month, and that's what they're going to be living in on $200 a month. So you're not going to be living like that. You're going to be, for example, for $1,000 a month in the West, gets you in loads of cities, gets you nothing, that you won't get anywhere for $1,000 a month, but it will get you the bare minimum. So for $1,000 a month, you're going to be getting the bare minimum, absolute bare minimum. So in Indonesia, though, $1,000 a month, you're in less than the top 1% quality of home. Less than the top 1% quality of home. So this is just one example I found. I looked really briefly, so it's not like I was looking for a long time. This costs around $1,100 per month. So it is 900 meters squared. It's got 6 bathrooms, which is absolutely massive. Absolutely massive place. 7-bedroom home. 7-bedroom. This is the bare minimum, remember, in England. Look at that. Like, absolutely massive, massive, massive home. And yeah, it's absolutely completely different. That's for $1,000, and you could probably find so much better. I literally found that in about 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. So yeah, top less than top 1% for $1,000 a month. So similar, the quality of the houses are actually going to be similar in terms of, we're talking the actual, like, the good houses. So what costs, just a rough, it completely depends on the area. Like in the West, it really depends on the area, but I'm talking here in terms of like the cheaper areas of the West even. So yeah, what costs you around $2,000 a month in the West can cost you $200 to $300 a month here. So what's that, like 10 times cheaper? $200 to $500 is around about the sweet spot here in Indonesia for a very nice home, like a nice gated community. It's going to be all nice, big detached homes, spacious homes, like 4-bedroom, all that you would need. Like my personal place right now is about $350 a month, and there's a swimming pool being built. There's a musala being built because it's a new place, gated community. So yes, there is poor places within Indonesia, but you're in your own gated community for a very small price. So yeah, um, but just to be aware of is that yes, you can be in a nice gated community, but a lot of Indonesia still is the lower quality homes, and likelihood is you're going to come out of your gated community, and within a few minutes, there's going to be some of those lower quality homes. So it's something to be aware of. So there's no drinkable tap water here in Indonesia, unlike the West. However, if you've done any research into tap water in the West, then you probably would. If you'd done the research, you would not want to drink it. So if you want to research into that, you can. Just very briefly, it's because there's so much birth pill being taken within the West, it actually doesn't get filtered out within the sewer system. So it is becoming very estrogenic. Estrogenic meaning it lowers your testosterone, and it affects your hormones quite significantly. Like it affects your hormones. So the tap water in the West, yes, it's supposedly drinkable, but it's not really of good quality. And the water that you're going to be getting here costs you like so minor. It's like a dollar, $2, $3 a week. So it's extremely low. Yeah, I don't personally have hot water actually in my home. I just thought I'd note that because some people might be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But yeah, I mean, you should get used to it. It doesn't mean like all the homes in Indonesia don't have hot water. It's just most places there's no need because it's really hot. There's no seasons here, so it's like 32 degrees where I personally am um, every day every day of the year. It doesn't really go up or down depending on seasons. There is no seasons, so they just don't put it in a lot of homes because there's literally no need. And it's a like I wouldn't even really want to get in a hot shower to be honest. But I just thought I'd note that you get the occasional lizard, like a house lizard. Um, you do in those poor areas. If you are walking through those poor areas, you will very occasionally you will see like a rat, which I understand people like in the West. That's like some people they would not come because of that one thing, but yeah, I just thought I would note it because it is. I'm not trying to like. I'm just trying to be honest with it. I may as well be honest. So yeah. Anyway, there may be the odd electric outage. I think I've seen like one since I've been here. It's since 1 in 10 months. So it's not as though it's like a common thing at all. And it lasted like 2 hours maybe. So I've seen that in the West as well. I've seen Wi-Fi outages and blah blah blah. So yeah, work. So yeah, definitely the West makes way more money. The average Indonesian wage is $200 a month. So, but a thing on that is like in the UK, for example, you've got this cost of living crisis and whatnot, whereby yes, you're making let's say £2,000 a month, but your expenses just to live a really bare minimum life is more than 2,000 anyway. So yes, you're earning more, but you're actually probably spending more than you're even earning in a lot of cases. So, yeah, you absolutely can't get a job here in Indonesia. It's just way too low. Like, yes, you could, people sometimes say you could become an English teacher here, but even still, it's going to be like 700. Yes, you've got it as a backup option, but it's going to be still like $700 a month or something like this, which, yes, you can actually live quite well on. You can actually live well, like, you can actually very well on $700 a month, but just ideally, you don't want to be coming here trying to get a job. It's not the place really to do that. So, most likely, though, if you're considering coming to Indonesia, you're already making online income, or you know, like that you could maybe even just do your job online as well. So, ideally, you do want to be earning in dollars, earning in pounds. You don't want to be earning in the rupiah realistically. Healthcare. So, yeah, in terms of the West, it does depend on the country, but private healthcare is very, very high. Like in the US and stuff, it's like people are taking out crazy debts, like tens of thousands of debts just to pay for their healthcare. Obviously, that's completely haram. We're not allowed to do that. So yeah, it's way more expensive in certain Western places. The UK has the NHS, which people people stay in the UK just because it's got the NHS, but it's extremely slow and it's a very low quality. They're really just trying to get you out because, and it's not the doctor's fault, it's not the people working there's fault, it's just the system's completely broken. It really doesn't work well. People, they have cancer and they're waiting months to get checked and stuff. They're getting months for treatments and things like this. So, yes, it's free, but at what cost? It's an extremely low and slow quality. So Indonesia has loads of great private healthcare. There's lots and lots of good hospitals, and you basically get instant access. Like you can send them a message on WhatsApp, just say, "Oh yeah, I want this check," and then you can basically go the next day. And it's really good service. Like they're really detailed. So, and it's a extremely low cost. Like I went to the dentist, for example. I went to the dentist and yeah, they open the door for you as you get there. They're so polite. They give you a nice cup of water. They have coffee and stuff if you want it. And then they just do the form for like a minute. They'd sit there with you on a nice sofa. It's just you in there. It's not like it's just you in there. And then basically you go straight to the dentist and then he does the check, blah blah blah. The check's free actually. The check's free, and then he did the scaling for me personally, and they showed before and after photos. Speaks good English, really good quality, really thorough. Like the scaling, he was doing it very detailed and very good results. It's spent like 20-30 minutes on it. Now, in the West, if you've been to a dentist before, you go into, at least per my personal experience. it's a rude staff member that doesn't really want to be doing a job. There's going to be quite a lot of people there. It's going to be kind of a dark sort of environment. You're going to be waiting like 30 minutes sometimes. And then they really, really rush it. And then you pay them £40 at the end, or you pay them like $50 at the end. But no, the Indonesian one was $8 for a very good service. I also been to a hospital as well, and it was really, really good service. Like they literally they greeted at the entrance. They showed the way through. You go straight to the doctor, and they explain things really carefully. They was asking follow-up questions. They was asking more. Is there anything else I can help with? But you just don't get that in the West. You really do not, and it's extremely cheap. Extremely cheap. So yeah, alhamdulillah. Healthcare is very, very good. Cleanliness, obviously though, the average Indonesian doesn't really have access to that. The average Indonesian is going to be going to a more public place where the quality is going to be significantly lower. So yes, I'm saying this because if you're a Westerner, you're very, very blessed if you can come somewhere like here. But yeah, the average Indonesian versus the average Westerner. Let's compare the UK NHS versus what the average Indonesian healthcare is. The average NHS probably is better. It probably is better. It's similar, probably similar, but the average NHS is going to be better. But again, you're not going to be you're not comparing what does the average Westerner get versus the average Indonesian. You're comparing what does the average Westerner get versus what does the average Westerner get in Indonesia, because it's really different. So yeah, cleanliness, the West is way cleaner. It really is. Indonesia does have a lot more pollution. Depends on the area in the West, but there is a lot of poverty here, which naturally results in a lack of cleanliness in a lot of areas. So as you're traveling, let's say you take a taxi going through the city, you're gonna see, there's no denying, you're gonna see trash, like rubbish on the floor. You're gonna see sometimes they build piles of rubbish and burn it, which obviously it's due to a lack of knowledge. We can't blame them, but you are going to see these things. You are going to see a lack of cleanliness compared to Western standards, 100%. Day to day, it's not a big issue though, because if you're living in your gated community, you've got a masjid most likely within your gated community or very close to it. Day to day, it's not really a big issue, but day to day, you maybe still see it. Like if you walk to the masjid and you've got to go through a different area, you might see a bit of rubbish on the floor. You might see a bit of this, just to be aware of. Transport, so public transport in the West is a lot more organized, clear, and high quality. It is like you take public transport in the UK, in the US, blah blah blah. It is clear. Yes, maybe there's the odd strike and stuff, but well, in the UK there's loads of strikes, but it is certainly more organized, clear, and high quality. But the caveat is you don't need to take it at all in Indonesia. You don't need to ever be taking a bus, be taking these things, because taxis are like $2 for a 30-minute drive, and they show up within 5-10 minutes. It costs less to have a personal driver show up to your home and take you somewhere than it does to take the public transport in the West. So you don't need to be taking the public transport. So it's the same point. Is we don't need to compare like for like. We don't need to compare public transport in the West versus public transport in the UK. Public transport in the Indonesia. We just compare what's the same price. What does it get you in each place? So personal driver in Indonesia versus public transport, which may be a little bit cleaner than Indonesian public transports. So yeah, and for longer distances, the quality of the trains is better in Indonesia from what I've seen. It's better and it's way, way cheaper. So yeah. Jakarta, surrounding cities, there is really bad traffic at peak times, actually. Really, really bad traffic. It's some of the worst in the world traffic at times, at the peak times. Now, it's something to consider. Sometimes you may see on your app, on Google Maps, for example, it says that the journey is an hour, but it ends up taking 2 hours just because of traffic. Definitely can be a case here. I'm sure there's cities in Indonesia where the traffic's not that bad, but it's something to consider. Roads, that's another reason, like you don't want to be in public transport when you're like that. If you're in a nice taxi, for example, which you can get on Grab, it's called, like you can get normal Grab taxis, but you can also get Grab Premium, which is a much nicer car. So you can work, or you can read Quran, you can do etc. You can do positive things whilst you're in the taxi. So I would highly recommend that if you're taking taxis, and it's like an hour journey. Sometimes it's like it says an hour. It may take an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's worth doing something productive within that time, whether you're working online. So yeah, that's a recommendation. So in terms of food, the West is extremely processed. You see on sandwiches 20 plus ingredients, and it's not the actual ingredients, it's acids and stuff. Expensive, very expensive, and it's focused on convenience and company profits most of the time. Whereas Indonesia, it is largely going to be fresh and cheap, very cheap and very fresh, because Indonesia has like the perfect weather for growing food and whatnot, because it's very hot, and it also gets a lot of rainfall. It's also absolutely massive, so just internally it has so much potential of growing foods and stuff. So that's why it's very fresh and very cheap. So personally, I'd rather eat fresh meat, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit than the ultra processed estrogenic foods, if you know about that. But you actually still have every single Western food option, if not more. Like, you have it all here. You have all the McDonald's, the KFC, the blah, blah, blah. You have it absolutely all here. There's not even one food that you have back home that you won't have here. And it costs like 30% less. Like the McDonald's here, I don't go there ever, but it costs like 30% less than it would cost you in the West. So yeah, and you have the option of the fresh fruits, the vegetables, absolutely everywhere. Like, because most of them is like a local shop. Like loads of families, they will have like a fresh fruit shop and stuff. You'll have like nice street stalls selling nice fruits and vegetables and blah blah blah, which is a very beautiful thing. So all the food is halal, which is a big thing in it, because when you're in the West, obviously, you can struggle to, like, I flew back to the UK and I was stopped over in Switzerland, and there was just nothing. Like, I was literally having to eat almonds and just nuts and stuff, just because there's nothing halal. Like, it's so rare. Obviously, not in the UK. Like, you've got, alhamdulillah, you do have many places which is halal now, but you've got to always think, and you're not going to just be able to be at ease with that. All the food though is halal here. Like, it's extremely rare. You'd have to have specifically gone to like a pork Chinese restaurant or something if you to not find it halal. It's basically all halal, which is a big blessing. You can just show up to any restaurant and it's going to be halal. Alhamdulillah. You've got loads of nice restaurants that cost far less. So you can you can still go to high quality restaurants, steakhouses, blah, blah, blah. You have the high end places, absolutely. And it costs less as well. All the tropical fruits is fresh. You've got all the tropical fruits, which in the UK, for example, you don't have some of those. Or if you do, they've been imported and it's not fresh. But you've got it all here. You literally have like, there's so many fruits here that I see that I've just never heard of in my entire life, which is a very beautiful thing. All the groceries you'd ever have back home, there's nothing that you will not have, and you've got every option. You've got way more options, way more options, and it's way cheaper. Is there hygiene issues at the absolute cheapest street food places? 100%. And the people that talk about they want to live in the West, they don't want to make hijrah, they don't want to come to these places. Maybe they'll point out, yeah, it's not hygienic though, but yeah, it's not hygienic if you go to the absolute cheapest street food place, but you don't need to go there. Why would you go to the cheapest street food place when you've got every other food option for way less than it would cost in the West? So yeah, you're likely not going to be going to these places. So I've no issue. You've got all the quality. You've got higher quality because it's a lot fresher. You've got it for way cheaper. It's always going to be halal. So very beautiful. Convenience in the West, you have Amazon, you've got Uber, you've got Just Eat, etc. So Indonesian has the equivalent. Shopee is like Amazon, but better. Grab is like Uber and Just Eat, but way better. Gojek is like Uber and better. So these are the equivalents. Indonesia's versions are way faster. Like Shopee, for example, well, to be honest, Amazon is good. Amazon does actually get you same day delivery on a lot of things, or next day delivery. Shopee, same thing, to be honest. You can get like same day, next day, and Grab as well. Same day, next day, and it's just way cheaper though. It's like, yes, Amazon, you've got Amazon Prime where you're going to pay whatever, £80 a year. I don't know what it actually is. yeah, it's going to cost a lot more for the deliveries on Amazon, and the actual products are just going to cost exponentially more. I remember the other day, like, or not the other day, it was like maybe a few months ago, even now. But I bought a pan on Shopee, like just a normal pan that you cook pasta or whatever in, and it cost 30p, like 30 British pence, which is what's that, like 40 cents? Absolutely ridiculous, and that was with delivery included, as well as the pan of that. So just things like Shopee and stuff is just so cheap. Grab, in terms of Grab is like taxis, and it also has all the foods that you would ever like groceries and restaurant food. So that it's going to cost you like it's going to cost you less than $1 for any food delivery, whether it's groceries or actual restaurant food delivery. Less than $1. Usually it can be free, or it can be like 50 cents or whatever. It's very negligible. And yeah, in terms of taking taxis, you're going to have, it's a lot faster than Uber. Like in the UK, maybe you're going to wait 10, 15 minutes in some places. Grab is going to be like 5, 10 minutes. So it's faster. And it's just way cheaper. $2 for a 30-minute drive. It's so cheap. So convenience, I would say, is certainly a lot better in Indonesia, and a lot cheaper. So it's higher quality and cheaper. Safety. So the West, you've got public drugs, you've got a lot of alcohol, a lot of crime, and a lot of degeneracy, which you just don't see here. Now, a woman really isn't safe to walk at night in a lot of the West, or even in the day. There's a lot of violence and a lot of crime for men as well. Like in Indonesia, you'll see, like, if you go for a walk at night time, if you go for a walk after praying Isha at the masjid, you will see young children playing. They will come over to you, or pretty much always, they always come over to you, and they're like, Assalamu alaikum and whatnot. They shake your hand. You're going to see other men coming home from the masjid, like in prayer clothing. There'll be women working at food stalls, serving nice street food. There'll be people eating together at the street stalls. Yeah, you don't see people doing drugs. You don't see people smoking. Not smoking. You don't see people drinking alcohol. You don't see people like gangsters and all this stuff. You also don't see any of this LGBT stuff day to day. I've not seen it once, but obviously in the West you do. If you go into a public town centre in the UK, for example, there's going to be all this LGBT. There's going to be drugs. There's going to be alcohol. There's going to be just gangs and things like this. A lot of violence even. So yeah, let alone at nighttime. In the nighttime in the West, you've got obviously the party culture and all this degeneracy. So you just don't have it here, alhamdulillah. Obviously, maybe there's the odd area, but day to day, you just don't see it at all. So yeah, you don't see public drug use. Like in the UK, if you go into a town centre, there's going to be very visible drug users in every. I've been to most of the town centres in the UK, and they all have it. No knife crime, gun crime. So obviously you see every single day. I think it actually is every day on average. There's knife crime in the UK, and obviously in the US it's gun crime. You just don't get it here. You literally just don't get it. I noticed the difference so much. Like I went back to the UK. This was a while ago now. I went back to the UK after having been in Muslim countries, having been in Indonesia, and I noticed the difference so much. You just feel so on edge. Like you really feel so on edge, and you won't really notice this, I guess, until you come to Indonesia and then go back to the West. But you'll probably notice when you come to Indonesia how calm you feel. But yeah, I just noticed it so much. Like I was so on edge. I was seeing people doing drugs in public. I was seeing drunk people. I was seeing people in pubs coming out swearing. I was seeing so much violence and stuff like this. Which you don't notice. Like if you're just in the West, you don't really notice stuff. It just feels normal, but it's really not. So safety is just so much better here, and you don't see police. I don't think I've ever seen police here, but it's just so much safer. Alhamdulillah, very beautiful point, especially if you're going to be raising a family here. It's what you want, isn't it? Religion. Now, in the West, there is protests and violence against Islam. There is almost everything in society that contradicts Islam. Alcohol, drugs, almost everything. You have fitna absolutely everywhere. You don't have the adhan. There's little masjids. There's going to be difficulties finding halal. But Indonesia, alhamdulillah, 240 million Muslims, the most Muslims out of any country in the world. There is a masjid within 5 minutes of everywhere. You could drop yourself any location, there's going to be a masjid. Masala in every single mall. Usually there's multiple in every mall. In a lot of shops, like I went to the dentist room that I was mentioning, and there was a masala in there. And in restaurants and stuff, there'll be masalas. The adan, you're going to hear multiple adans from everywhere. Halal food is everywhere. There is Islamic schools everywhere. So alhamdulillah. So yeah, if the West is a first world country, why are so many people divorced, so many becoming alcoholics, so many people depressed? It's because they don't have the religion of Islam. So alhamdulillah, Indonesia is going to massively fuel your deen. It's going to massively make deen a lot easier. So dating versus marriage. So yeah, in the West, almost everyone dates, many sleep around, few get married, many divorce. Indonesia, you're surrounded by people who they're almost all married. Like I've taken hundreds of taxis and I actually ask quite a lot of them like, yeah, are you married? Just because I'm curious. And I don't think even one of them has ever said no. I think all of them have been married. They have children. They're like, yeah, alhamdulillah. Such a beautiful thing, but try that in the West. I think I've asked like a few in the West, and like the non-Muslim taxi drivers, and most of the time they're going to be depressed, they're going to be an alcoholic, they're going to be divorced, their kids have left them or something like this. It's very, very common. So yeah, the dating versus marriage culture is just so different. And amongst the Muslims, even it is creeping into the Muslims as well, unfortunately, dating and the values more so, which is like the mahar being requested of like 50,000, which the woman has the right to ask whatever, but yeah, it is far more reasonable in Indonesia. And yeah, there's most women, they wait until marriage. Of course, there's exceptions, but the absolute overwhelming majority is certainly better with this. So the key takeaway is what the average Westerner has versus the average Indonesian is of higher quality. There's no denying it. But what you as a Westerner have here in Indonesia is so much better than what you would have in the West. So yeah, inshallah, this has been beneficial to you. If you've been debating whether do you come over to Indonesia to make hijrah, whether do you get married here and live here. If you are wanting to marry here, like I did, alhamdulillah, then you can go to the link in the description. We've got the free group, and inshallah, you can get in touch. We've got free value in there, helping you, literally a full free guide on how do you actually find a woman, even if you're abroad. So you can get the ball rolling and get started. And yeah, if you're interested in marrying and moving here, then we can get in touch, inshallah. So yeah, assalamu alaikum.